Do we know if he's
Lawyers.
coming or no?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was here for court today.
Oh, okay.
We talked about it.
Who drew these dots on this picture?
You're welcome.
Will. Cliff.
I had my
Will?
I'd
crayons.
probably been on Will.
Cliff handed me the paper and a box of crayons and said, have fun.
Yes. Next dots. That's new traffic control plan for this, that's 6. Let's count participation.
Did that steel guy, Jeremy, did that steel guy ever contact you back? Did you ever find anybody?
You all right?
I gotta go back and look, yeah, but I don't
It's
remember the
6.
name of it.
Will you find out? Because
Yeah,
we're still having trouble.
Yeah,
It-
because
it-
he came out and I like tried to get him back to send me the quote.
Time is now 6, and we will call this meeting to order.
Let us pray. Sovereign God, who reigns over all, please be with us today and every day, here and everywhere. Please guide us in all we do. Please give us grace and help us heal. Please protect us and keep us in your loving arms. Allow us to see our many blessings, and please hear our prayers of thanksgiving. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Roll call, council members, let the record reflect. Councilmember Stahlberg is not present for our meeting tonight. Do we have any public comments? All right. Moving on to consent agenda. A, approval of minutes from regular meeting held October 14th, 2024. Let me read them all. Okay. B, budget report September 2024. C, investment report quarter 4 fiscal year 2024. D, appoint Kai York to the Crime Control Prevention District Board. E, appoint Kimberly Garcia to the Keep Richwood Beautiful Committee. F, appoint Lindsay Yearson to the Charter Review Committee. And G, Fire Department year-end report fiscal year 2024.
Mayor, I'm gonna recuse myself from that with my wife being on it.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
We have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let the record reflect. The motion carries. Okay. Discussion and action items. A, discuss and consider possible amendments to Chapter 2, Article 4, Code of Ethics of the City of Richwood Code of Ordinances.
Mayor, Council, we had a request to put this agenda item on for a possible update to the Code of Ethics for the City of Richwood in ordinance. And at request, we kind of reduced down several verbiage that we've taken from other, Jeremy, you got one. Let me just pass those down. For a discussion item for possible inclusion. And what you have before me is just samples that we have gathered in preparation for the meeting tonight at request. That's all I've got.
So this is currently not in there, is that right, or is?
That's correct.
Okay.
Our Kirsten has our code of ethics up there, and basically what we were asked is a plate there for the Attorney General's office. And at request, we were asked to bring some samples that would have some type of verbiage, as you see here. Not included what's up there now. That's our current policy now.
Okay, is there any consequences? This is just like a guideline. What kind of consequences would we follow?
Basically, that's up to council.
It would just be adding it to the code of ethics.
Yes.
So what we'll do today is discuss any possible changes, and if there's any action on possible changes, it'll be created in an ordinance format and re-presented at the December meeting for a formal adoption. And the research, or the language that is here was pulled from other cities that have similar language after research was done by legal.
Any nearby cities surrounding? All of them?
Pretty close, yeah.
Yeah.
Looks pretty good to me.
Oh, I'd like to make a motion then. I would like to add practice civility and decorum in discussions and debate, difficult questions, tough challenges to particular points of view, and criticism of ideas and information are legitimate elements of a free democracy in action. This does not allow, however, public officials to make belligerent, personal, impertinent, slanderous, threatening, abusive, profane comments, or disparaging comments. No shouting or physical actions that could be construed as threatening to be tolerated. Also, for the treatment of staff as professionals, clear, honest communication that represents the abilities, experience, and dignity of each individual is expected. Poor behavior towards staff is not acceptable.
So you're wishing to make a motion?
I'd like to
Yeah,
add
so
something.
He did make a motion.
I'd like to motion to add something.
We have a
as
motion on
well,
the table.
if you don't mind.
We need a second.
We need a second.
I'll second the motion. Not to his motion.
Did you make a second? Okay, all in favor?
We can have discussion, but he cannot make another motion.
I would like to make a motion
What was your vote?
Oh,
Okay, let the record reflect the motion carries.
Okay, so
Mr.
he can make an
Challenger.
additional motion.
I would like to make a motion that we do not intentionally manipulate, intimidate, distract, coerce, or deceive in order to achieve a favorable outcome.
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, I'll
Or-
have to type that out.
I'd like to make a
Discuss it.
motion that we do not allow for intentional manipulation, intimidation, distraction, coercion, or deception in order to achieve a favorable outcome.
Hang on, I'm.
Can we have a second to this?
I'll second the motion. Yeah, I don't have an issue with it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay.
Aye.
Okay, let the record reflect the motion carries.
Did you get
Do we have
the,
any nays?
Mr. Yerson?
Huh? I'm still trying to read. I'm trying to understand what he's saying. Can you repeat yourself?
Intentional manipulation, intimidation, distraction, coercion, or deception in order to achieve a favorable outcome.
Yeah. All right.
did you get that, Kirsten? Okay.
Hey, Carson, just for clarity, the exact verbiage of it will be subject to review in December.
Yes, so I'm gonna take these, put them into ordinance format, amending this, and then they will adopt that formally, and they can make changes there
They
also.
can make changes?
Mhm.
Perfect.
Okay.
I just wanted to get language to put into an amendment.
You good?
Unless there's anything else.
Any further discussion on that item? Okay, moving on. Discussion and action, item B, discuss and consider approving resolution 24-R-94, amending the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget to allow for unbudgeted expenditures.
Mayor and council, every year I bring, if necessary, a budget amendment to amend the previous year's budget for expenditures and transfers that have occurred during the year that were not in our original budget. Staff tries to, as the year goes through, bring these things to council, either through your weekly report or a discussion at council meetings. But we don't do the official budget amendment until the end of the year to see if we are required to do one. Through audit, we are required to keep our funds within spending limits. The line items don't necessarily have to be within limits that were set, but the funds as a whole. So last year we did not need to bring a budget amendment, even though we had spent some equipment money that wasn't in the original budget last year. Our spending was at a level where we could absorb it without having to do a budget amendment. However, this year, it's a little different situation, especially with the hurricane. And then we also bought some additional equipment that wasn't available last year that would have been approved. And then there's a few other things that were spent throughout the year that were not in the original budget. I've sent you all the documents. I can go through them if you need me to, or I can answer questions.
Was most of, all of this associated pretty much due to the hurricane, or was like?
So, the hurricane, we spent during the fiscal year just over $1 million,
Right.
which of course wasn't budgeted. That included additional payroll, debris removal, recovery costs. We transferred from our contingency fund $882,774 to cover the debris removal. We didn't transfer to cover everything, but the debris removal we did. So we need to do a net adjustment to our general fund of $122,000 additional expenditures when you take away the transfer from contingency. That will reduce our fund balance by that amount. That's for the hurricane. Then we had some other things in administration and city maintenance. City maintenance was the equipment that wasn't available until this year. I also have included in the amendment the contingency fund because we didn't budget within it to transfer that money to the general fund. Court security, a portion of our new doors where we got our pretty little fobs. That was decided after budget, and a portion of it was paid in fiscal year 24. The remainder will be paid this current fiscal year. If our spending requires it, it'll be included in a budget amendment at the end of this year. And then the transportation fund, we did some capital expenditures that were not in the original budget to use up the balance of our bond money. So, but you should have gotten sheets that outlined everything.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to answer any questions.
I do have a question, and I don't want to come across that I'm making any accusations. I just feel this might be our due diligence to look at a detailed of the emergency disaster expenditures that we've had. Like for instance, how much in labor were we charging? I don't even know, to be honest with you, as far as the invoices for the emergency disaster, what we got invoiced from the trucks and what they were charging us by day or load or however they were charging us.
Those have all come through the city manager's office. He's signed off on all of this. And I gave you some detail as far as by department here. For the actual contract labor, there were,
The 929,000?
yeah, that's I'm trying to think of the name of the companies.
No, I get it.
Cirrus
It's a
and
lot of
True
money, and
North
like I said, I'm not
Matula,
doing
yeah.
any accusations here.
Those
it's
also
just-
have to go to FEMA.
Mhm.
We have to present those to FEMA.
Right.
As far as the salary and such, during an emergency declaration.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about the salaries.
Yeah.
I think really, I think that we should do our due diligence of looking at that contract labor, just invoices, and it'd be nice to see the details of, you know, what we were billed for, so.
Do you
So
want to address that?
I can jump back there and email it right now. It's super easy to do. But keep in mind that these are, and I'm not trying to dissuade you, I'm just, that's why we have a debris pickup people, and they're monitored by another company. And that's required by FEMA. So you're getting a separate party verifying the loads and the invoices that come back. And then the monitoring company sends us a bill for that plus their services. Then all of that, we reduce that down, send it to FEMA. FEMA sends it to their project manager. Project manager sends it to their finance people. Finance people then approve it and send it back to us. So it goes through about 5 sets of eyes. But I can gladly email that to you.
I'll be
It's not a
happy to
problem.
discuss it with you after, you know, if I have any questions.
Sure.
I'll review it.
Sure.
Yeah, so we had 2 vendors for the big debris removal. One was True North, who were the monitors, and they hired people to just stand there and count the loads, basically. Cirrus was ones actually picking it up, taking it out to the dump, disposing of it for us. We did have one contractor, Matula, which will sound familiar because they've done a lot of street work for us. They were in town. They were able to help get some of that debris cleared for us in a quicker basis than if they'd had to wait. So those 3.
Just to clarify, I guess, probably not going to happen, but we're not going to get reimbursed by FEMA by the end of this year, yeah. I mean, any
So these
timeline?
expenses came out of fiscal year '24. We possibly will get reimbursed 75% of whatever FEMA approves. So we have submitted all of these costs to FEMA. We still have a little bit more because we're waiting on some more information on the roof and the pavilion at the park. The last thing, after those are submitted, we will submit our admin time. You do that last because we're obviously still doing it. Once that all gets in, FEMA will reimburse us up 75% of what they approve. There may be things thrown out. We've had weekly meetings with a FEMA representative and 2 FEMA representatives, the debris person and the other one, going through what I've accumulated. I submit it to Eric, Eric submits it to them, and she's saying, okay, they're going to question this, they're going to question that, can you give more detail? So by the time FEMA gets it, we hope that it's in good order, that they'll approve all of it, but you know, it's FEMA.
I do have a question for the council on their opinion on this. In regards to the contingency fund, I don't know what kind of interest rate we're getting, but let's say we're getting a 10% interest return on it. Well, just follow me here. In the future, it might benefit us to get a loan at a 4% interest rate and keep getting the interest from the financial investments that we have instead of spending the money. You know, get a loan and then FEMA pays back. I don't even know, maybe FEMA will pay back even the interest, I'm not sure. But in the future, we might consider that instead of pulling from our investments that we're getting a higher interest rate on than what we could get a loan for.
The cautionary tale on this, so the reimbursement or the loan program that you're talking about is not guaranteed repayment. So what happens is if your city shows a deficit in their bottom line, in other words, if our general fund is showing a negative, we make application, the money is used specifically for storm cleanup. If at the end of I forget the specific amount of time, 1 to 3 year period, 3 years rings a bell to me.
3.
Yeah, 3 year period. They audit all your numbers for your year of, year after, year after, year after. And if you show a net gain above your regular bottom line, it is not going to be repaid. So that's the catch to that. And I've seen other cities around us do that. But our problem is we don't meet the base requirement because we have the money. So
That's a sore subject with a lot of people, that, their neighbors get FEMA refunding and they don't because they had insurance or whatever.
sure.
Yeah.
Well, and back to your original question, and I'll come back to this because it's all intertwined. One of the unique things about the way we're doing this project this year, so instead of totaling up all of our damages, all of the damage total combined to all city properties, your contracts, your invoices, your force account labor, all that stuff used to go into a big pot, and FEMA says, okay, it's $1 million, and it's a large project, and it takes forever, and then you get audited, and it goes back and forth and backward. We're submitting each loss this year. Debris will go on its own. Damages will go on its own. Fencing will go on its own. The park will go on its own. The pavilion
Each
will go.
part's a separate.
So we're actually submitting these as individual projects instead of one big loss. And our repayment should be significantly faster because it keeps, FEMA has two eligible categories for repayment. It's small project and large project. And they've reduced down the requirements and payment schedules for small projects. So we're submitting them for faster repayment. There is a possibility we could get some of these funds this year, this fiscal year. So that's a bright spot.
Probably this fiscal year, I'm guessing.
Some of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we've submitted everything we can so far. And we were fortunate in that we had reserves in our contingency fund that as these costs came up, we could write checks. We didn't have to wait to find out if we could find a loan or do anything like that. We were able to get the trucks moving and get things going. So I'm glad we had the contingency fund that we could dip into. There's another storm in the Gulf now. If this one...
Thanks, Trish. Thank you.
I didn't say the H word. If this one hits, we could have to be looking at a loan. But for us to be able to weather the storm with our own cash on hand, I was actually quite proud of the city to be able to do that. And we right now get between 4 and 4.5% on our
I too think it's nice to have a contingency fund, and I'd like to, I'm hoping that when this money comes back, it'll
go right
go
back
back
to
into
the
the contingency fund. Okay.
Yep.
And then, I haven't made the transfer yet this year, but there will be another 300 and whatever it was budgeted going in now. I haven't done it yet because we don't have excess cash in our general fund right now because we're just at the beginning of property coming in. But once those start flowing, I'll make that transfer. So, we're going to have $500,000 or more in contingency fund without that reimbursement yet. So, yeah, we'll have about $600,000 in there after I do that transfer. So we're sitting good. But back to the budget amendment. If we don't amend these line items, we get a ding on our audit, which affects our bond rating, which affects, different things.
Borrow rating.
Huh?
Or borrow rating.
That's what I meant, yeah. There's nothing in here that council wasn't made aware of during the year. Of course, there are other line items we went over on, but they don't affect the bottom line because other lines were the other way. So, I'm bringing these to you. I just need you to approve them so I can tell the auditors we're good.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 24R94, amending the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget to allow for unbudgeted expenditures.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Let the record reflect, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Trish.
Trish.
Okay, C, discuss and consider adopting a prohibited technology security policy as required by Senate Bill 1893.
So, as the policy reads, Chapter 220 of the Local Government Code now requires specifically TikTok to be banned from government-owned devices. And the legislature gave cities until November 14th to take action in implementing a policy. I went through the TML recommended policy and my listserv of other cities, what they're doing, smaller cities. And I present a prohibited technology security policy that is in line with SB 1893.
I'll make a motion to approve item C.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, let the record reflect, motion carries. Consider items removed from consent agenda, which were none. Well, we get to hear Mr. Cliff. Next up is capital improvements projects update.
So our ARPA projects are still on track for generators to be to the contractors. Late November, setting an electrical termination of those generators are anticipated to take place first part of December. The mid-mod project, the streets and drainage. So construction contracts have arrived to Matula and Matula. They're in the process of putting the final signatures on them and sending those back to Strand, and then they will be directed towards me. And we'll provide notice to proceed and then move on from there. Lift station 6 force main. So we met with Matula and Matula today. Sorry. The pipe will be here on the 14th. We are anticipating to start construction on the 18th. So the traffic plan that you guys have in front of you, it's a general layout of how we intend to handle traffic. We are going to have to shut down the north bridge of over Oyster Creek. And notices for that will go out on the 12th. And we will be setting up the morning of the 18th.
And what's the estimated timeline for the
10 to 14 days for the project.
So right through the holiday.
Yeah, I think that was kind of planned because of the ISD schedule
Oh, that's true.
and lack of traffic through the area. And last is Cypress and Misty Court reconstruction. Survey for that project is complete. We're anticipated to get the 90% design by the end of the year. Then after that, we'll proceed with bid advertising. That's all I have.
Record time.
That's it.
Must be hungry.
Can you go get Cliff now? Thank you, sir. Okay, next is city manager's report.
Mayor, Council, first item on the list was what Cliff just talked about, the outline of the lift station number 6 pipe replacement. We're participating in staff with several weather briefing calls regarding Hurricane Raphael. We're monitoring the storm and its progress. Notice has been set out, social media, website. Chief and I are talking about it daily. Preparations are being made. All city departments are working on their all hazards checklist, and that this thing is, I'm sure y'all noticed by my emails I'm sending out there, it's all over the place. I predict it will probably die out in the Gulf before landfall. That's what they're saying due to this shear, but we're keeping an eye on it. We'll go from there. Work progresses on supplemental items yesterday. We met staff, talked about each of the supplemental items that we're working on. Everybody's making progress with those. The master plan, EOC build, and Cliff got his storage units. They're in and on the ground, and the work truck is here and up and running, thank goodness. We held another staff progress meeting with FEMA and the barrel recovery yesterday, as Cliff talked about. And Keep Richwood Beautiful did a great job, again, as usual, with their fall sweep cleanup this past weekend. Everything went great. And audit has begun, and Tricia is now working on 100 different items with budget, barrel, recovery, end-of-year closeout, and audit. Am I missing anything?
I'm sure you probably are, but
So she's a very busy woman right now, so we try to leave her alone as best we can.
I appreciate it.
And that's all I've got.
Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Okay, Councilmember Stauber, do you have anything to add? No.
It's quiet today.
Councilmember Challenger, do you have anything you wish to add?
No, just enjoy the weather, guys. Enjoy the weather. It's nice outside.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Reynolds?
Just on the eve of a potential storm, I encourage, if you haven't since the last storm, please sign up for the city alerts. It's a really great way to stay in touch with what's happening and services available and help that is available throughout the city and beyond.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Gearson?
Yeah. First, I'd like to say, I appreciate all the hard work that everybody put into the trunk or treat. We were out there and, it was crowded. It was a really nice turnout. The fire department, police department, everybody that was out there. I'd like to thank them and then the city workers for everything they did to pull that off as well as it was. Other than that, just second what everybody else said.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Fountain?
I would just like to recognize and say thank you to all the election poll workers that worked yesterday, and they always do a good job. I think it's still something that we have in our country, and is a good thing, whether you're person one or not. It was I think a very good election, and everybody did well on it in this area, and we'll keep it going, hopefully. We'll see how it goes.
We had some pretty record turnouts again.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I'd like to add, I'd like to thank the city and staff for trunk or treat. I had a blast seeing all the kids, all the families. It's an excellent event for everybody if you can make it. Y'all did a good job. And that lemonade was great. I got diabetes from it, but it was great.
Sugar high.
I finally get to say a first. Y'all get a chance to speak before me on speaking. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Oh yeah, it is November.
Gotcha.
It is.
Hard to believe.
Even a
And
blind squirrel finds a nut every now and then.
I have to wait to find it. But yes. And I brought this to Chief's attention the other day. I didn't get to speak to all of you personally, but please be careful at the intersection at 2004 and 288B. The last 10 times I've sat at that light in the mornings, somebody has ran that light heading south on 288B. And that's a recipe for disaster. Chief's doing all he can, with his arms stretched. If I could put lights on my truck, I would chase him down and spike strips, but I just want everybody to be safe. I don't like anything going on in Richwood, so anything negative. And that's all I have to add. Other than you doing all the due diligence and pulling hair out to get this budget done in Cliff too. So thank y'all.
Job security.
Any items of community interest?
Chief and I are starting works on Shop with a Cop. So if anyone's interested in, or needs help this holiday season, that lives in the city, keep an eye out on our website and social media for applications to go live for Shop with a Cop. We enjoy doing that every year, and it's always a great turnout. If anybody would like to donate monetarily to the cause, we are accepting donations. The more we don't like to turn any child away, and so far we have never had to, because the businesses in the city continue to give to our cause. So we hope to keep growing it because every year we have more and more.
Do
Quick,
you have a date for it yet?
We don't. We are
Okay.
doing a planning meeting soon.
Okay.
Chief Curson, let council know about how many people we serve.
So, I mean, it's more than 50 kids we're up to now. We started with like 20 kids.
Yeah.
And I think in the last year it was like 55 children that we
That's
take
awesome.
shopping. It started small, like I said, about half that. We're grateful to the Natalie Woolsey charity. They sponsor at least half of our kids every year, or as much as they can. So we appreciate that. So that's what we got coming. There is a Toys for Tots box in the lobby, and we're also going to have a food drive coming up. So just keep your eyes open. We'll have that in the lobby, and as always, we're accepting soft plastics. And Margaret is about halfway to our goal, and it's only November, and we have until July. So that's another shout out to the businesses in this area that are really helping.
I do have one thing for community interest. I read recently that the Dream Center, which y'all know serves a lot of people in this county, and especially our immediate area, food, services, there's a plethora of services that they offer those who are kind of going through a rough time, and they're really struggling right now with money. So if anybody knows anyone, or if they're able themselves to donate to the Dream Center, it's a great cause. I've volunteered there a few times, and they really do make a huge impact in our community.
That's good. I wanted to ask you something about your Shop with a Cop.
Yeah.
Did you mention that on our website, you're gonna have somewhere where we can sign up as volunteers? Are we gonna need them again?
We always need as much help as we can shopping. I know it's shop with the cop, but it's really shop with somebody who cares, really. I mean, we all show up and we all do the shopping, and we have a blast.
You are more than welcome to attend and help out.
Yes.
Usually what we do is we pair up a cop with a volunteer. The volunteer's responsibility is to keep track of how much money we're spending and help keep an eye on the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And if y'all have not gone to this program and watched the look on these kids' faces, you're missing out on some of the best things in life.
You really are.
I encourage all of y'all.
Yeah.
If
I will
you're
be
free,
there.
I mean, my husband is a proclaimed Scrooge, and he comes there. He likes to do it with me. So, I'll say that it's really humbling to see these kids, and you realize how grateful you are, and your kids are. So, anyways,
That's
we
all.
can have cops
Enough of mine.
and council shop with
we
kids.
can.
Shop with a Cop and a councilman.
Well, let's not change the name. You still
I
get
will
the
bring
spotlight.
donuts.
I'm feeling my same role as last year, so.
So, anything. That's all I have. Just be on the lookout for that. We will get that out there as soon as possible.
Okay. Future agenda items were
We will have the ethics ordinance.
that was it, the ethics ordinance.
We try to keep December pretty light, so we'll
January 9th.
keep it to a minimum unless something pops up critical.
Yep.
Like to be out in and out in 30 minutes.
If
I do have
charter
one-
review
one
gets that
thing-
far, they may have a
One
presentation.
thing, I know y'all try to keep it light in December and all that, but I know there was a lot of talk about like the trash from the storm and all that, and I know the city put out a lot of info about what to pick up, when they picked it up, when we stopped the heavy lift from the next storm. And I kind of wonder, would it behoove us as a city to kind of contract or make an extra, I don't know what the cost would be or anything, that may be something to look at the next council.
Like one more round? is what
Like
you're
one
saying?
more round, like to say, all right, because I rode around town and there's still
There's still a bunch.
a lot of stuff, so.
We can
Yes.
we'll bring it as a discussion item because
Yeah.
we're having that conversation internally right now with some discussion that we've had this week with the trash people. Just know from the get-go, anything we do from this point out is not FEMA reimbursable.
Right,
So
right.
but yes, we'll bring it for a discussion item.
What would it cost us? Can we do it?
Yeah, it's possible. We can do that.
Okay. And I don't want to be confused with somebody remodeling too, thinking that they could have got away with it, you know?
You have a mixture of stuff
I was
out
gonna say,
there.
just the risk you run.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, that's,
Or
No, that's a good idea. Okay.
We'll bring it for
Thank you, Jeremy.
discussion. We'll have all the details.
Okay. Time is now 6:39 with no other business to discuss. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, thank you.